We've had a lot of coverage of Illinois' roster post Andres Stojakovic ad, and we will continue to have a lot of coverage of this program as things unfold. It seems like right now there's a lot of speculation that maybe Illinois is still star hunting a little bit. Maybe they still have a little money left over, and all things are trending in the right direction for Illinois right now, I would say. But the Field of 68 guys were reacting to Andres Stojakovic's ad at Illinois, and it's worth listening to. I really enjoyed the segment. Shout out to Rob and Jeff. But they raised an interesting point that apparently, from talking to people behind the scenes, this is something I hadn't really thought of or heard before. The quote from Goodman was, quote, talking to Brad Underwood and some people around him, I think he feels like some of these international guys are a little more coachable. Maybe that's the reason why he has gone so all in on the international path from a roster building standpoint instead of just dipping his toe in those waters like he did a year ago. I find this incredibly interesting as a thought here, Dion. I'm not 100% sure I buy this, but like I know Goodman and them talk to Brad Underwood directly. So like if they're saying this on record, it's probably something Brad himself has said. What are your thoughts on the idea of international players being more coachable to Brad Underwood?
I agree with it, but I agree with it from I think the standpoint of who he's recruiting. So I think he's saying international players are more coachable than your five stars or your high end four stars, like your top 50 guys, right? Because Illinois is excuse, I call them Illinois, excuse me. If Illinois was involved in a high school recruit, they're involved in like the high end high school recruits. We're talking about like McDonald's All American, so on and so forth. Transfer portal guys, they brought in Terrence Shannon, who might be the best transfer portal guy we've seen so far. So I think he's comparing them to guys that have NBA aspirations. And the reason I say I agree is we've seen time and time again when those guys with NBA aspirations end up going to Europe, they wind up getting benched. They wind up not playing much. And it's not because of talent, it's because they're unwilling to play a role. They're unwilling to get in a stance on defense. They're unwilling to get on that floor for the loose ball. They're unwilling to adapt to the physicality. And international players will do whatever a coach says, right? We see it on the Olympic stage all the time, right? Like the U.S. obviously has the 12 best players in the world on their roster more often than not, but those other teams play like a team. They're coached well. Their rotations are smooth, so on and so forth. So I think we see it at every level. I mean, I think you also, when you take a look at the guys who bypassed college to go play in Europe in the mid 2010s, post the NBA saying you had to play a year in college, like a Brandon Jennings, got benched for not being coachable, right? LaMelo went to Europe. Same thing. They said he wasn't I do believe LaMelo's coachable now. He was obviously 16 when he did it. But when he went to Europe, they said he wasn't the most coachable. So I think we've seen it time and time again when guys go over there, they come back because they couldn't adapt to what international style basketball is, and they didn't want to be coached within it. So I completely agree with Brad Underwood just from the standpoint of who he's comparing the players to. When it's a three-star recruit, I don't think I agree though.
Okay. I think it all just depends on the people. Look, I think there's probably some pros, no pun intended, to coaching professional basketball players, right? Like I remember hearing Brad mention this specifically when talking about Yakashonas last year. It's almost like contractual, right? Like Kasparis showed up to Champaign. Everyone on every party involved here had the same plan of like, you're a professional basketball player. You will be in the NBA a year from now, and this is a business transaction. We're happy to have you. We're going to help you. Let's win some games along the way, and then go off and be great. And everybody wins. Woohoo! Yay! Let's approach it like it's our business. And I think in that sense, I think I would understand why you feel it's quote unquote easier or more coachable, right? Because number one, these guys are professional caliber in terms of their abilities. And number two, they're guys that have already spent years of their lives in Kasparis' shoes, at least being a professional basketball player. Their life, they know how I wake up, I play basketball today. I'm gonna like my job is to get my body ready for this. My job, I'm not worried about going to the bar. I'm not worried about playing video games with Monster Energy drinks, right? Like there's a whole lot of hoopla that the college experience can offer, and career college basketball players, let's be real, shout out Umar Ballo and everything Indiana just went through. You go through a lot of hoopla when you know there's no professional nature to what you're doing. So I can understand that from that sense. Um, the thing I would just push back on, a couple minor points for me on this is like, okay, are the pros that you're after or the Europeans that you're after, are they more coachable than just the specific guys that you've been recruiting? Because Matthew Meyer wasn't coachable. Dane Danger, was he all that coachable? Merez Johnson doesn't seem overly coachable. Like, do you want me to name more name? I don't know. These we know there's been weird locker rooms. Jay Nepp, Sky Clark, coachable. Like, just thousands of examples of this, and I think those situations all felt unique to me. They didn't feel like, oh, American kids aren't coachable because Marcus Damas certainly coachable, Terrence Shannon certainly coachable, Quincy Guerrier, Justin Harmon, Luke Goody, very coachable. Maybe arguably more coachable than what I saw from Kasparis last year. We interrupt this sleepers video to tell you about an offer from Underdog Fantasy. Cart, you love Underdog Fantasy, correct?
Of course I do. Can I have a moment real quick?
Please. Thank you for that. In fact, I'm going to cut you off because our listeners like when we keep these short and sweet. Underdog Fantasy. Sign up as a new user. Use promo code SLEEPERS. Get bonus funds up to $1,000, 50% of your deposit match. The NBA playoffs are rocking right now. I played Underdog last week with a Cade Cunningham line. I'm looking forward to doing it throughout the entire first round of the NBA playoffs, but there's more. You can place picks on golf. You can place picks on baseball. You can place picks on the NHL playoffs that are rocking right now. Join Underdog Fantasy, promo code SLEEPERS. Support this show so that we can keep bringing videos to you. Back to the video, which is my second minor pivot here. How much did you coach Kasparis? Coachable? Because Kasparis showed up shooting his little shoot, step back bullshit shots and throwing the ball in the seventh row. And at the end of the year, he was still doing that. Like that was the biggest criticism of your team last year was no one saw a lot of coaching going on, right? Brad Underwood, historically a guy who has held his guys' feet to the fire, hold them accountable, scream at them if you need to, cuss them out. This isn't good enough. We demand greatness at Illinois. We didn't see him do that to Kasparis once last year. Is that because in Brad's mind, this guy's already perfectly coached? He's a finished product? Or is it because I don't know, you're handling them a little bit differently than what's worked for you when you handle high school players? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think when it comes to Kasparis, specifically at least, that is, I mean, I guess it's not because Will Riley's a one and done too. But I was gonna say Kasparis is in my opinion, Brad Underwood's one true one and done athlete, right? Like Will Riley is a one and done as well, but he feels like a different type of one and done. You know what I mean? Kasparis is like he was a top 10 pick the moment he stepped on campus, and the moment he left campus, still a top 10 pick. And I think when you're dealing with a guy like that, the stuff he did isn't necessarily what you want a college player to do, but I don't think you want to remove it from his game because it's exactly what he's going to be doing at the next level. And that pass that went to the seventh row is probably going to wind up being a dunk by the center. The step back is probably still going to be missed because Kasparis has some work to do on his jump shot, but that's what they want him to do. So I think he was coaching him as if he's an NBA player, and so you didn't see too much coaching of Kasparis. I completely agree with you. I don't think he coached Kasparis, but I think it was kind of by design. And I think when you bring the European players in, it's exactly what you said. They're a finished product. So you don't have to coach them as much. You can build a roster around what their strengths and weaknesses are. And with some of the American players, you bring them in and they have like, I mean, like Will Riley had some like serious like downsides, I guess, to his game. He had a lot of upside, and then he would have a game where it's like 2 points. You know what I mean? And Kasparis did the same thing, but Will Riley, you could even see his body transformation. He was a different person at the end of peak at Illinois, like let alone a different basketball player. And there's more that the high school kids come in having to work on than a professional basketball player from Europe. And I think what Brad is saying is if they don't have the mentality of I want to get to work the way Will Riley had the mentality of I want to get to work, I'll put on 20 pounds of muscle. I'm going to take the guys that are already a finished product because clearly they were more coachable in high school than some of these guys are that are coming on campus.
Yeah. To summarize this for me, I believe that Brad Underwood said this probably to Goodman just straight up, and I believe that he means it. Um, in his heart, I believe the reason he's doing this international thing is not due to coachability. I think he flat out believes he's getting better players for the price that he's spending. That's what I heard constantly with the way these guys were even being targeted. It's like we're going to spend $1.2 million on a player. Do I want Adam Miller or do I want Mihailo Petrovic? The guy who's a top 10 player in the Adriatic League, whereas Adam Miller is a top 7 player on Arizona State last year. Like, there isn't even a conversation. And if you want to pivot that to coachability, guess what? I don't think Adam Miller's all that coachable, so it still applies. But in the end, to me, it's about getting value. It's about getting just good caliber players. And overwhelmingly, the international players Brad Underwood has targeted in the last 2 years have been very good basketball players. I think that's where this is rooted in. And the coachability thing is a nice talking point on top of it. But I don't know. That's my interpretation. Do you think that's fair in the end?
I, I think that's completely fair, which brings me to like my final point on it. If Illinois loses at the crib to Purdue, if Braden Smith, TKR, Oscar Clough go in there and they get them one, three guys who I think Braden will play in the NBA, but like limitedly.
Yeah.
At most, play limited NBA roles. I want all NBA pundits to stop telling me that the Euro League is just as good as the NBA. That's what I want. So if Illinois doesn't stomp everybody out, I want that narrative to be done. Because
So basically, Illinois is playing this season on behalf of the EuroLeague.
yes, they all of Europe. There, so it's Illinois is like this is their World Cup.
Well,
Like
that's
I expect them.
I literally want all-star jerseys that just say Team World in
Yeah.
orange and white. That's what I want their alternate unis to be this year.
Oh, and if they lose to Purdue, by the way, Adam Silver killed that Team USA versus Team World All-Star game idea, by the way, too. If they don't win the Big Ten, that's out. Like that's out. I don't even want to see it.